Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. 2 more people who tested positive for COVID-19 in Saskatchewan have died. One was in the 30 to 39 age group in the North Central Zone and one in the 80-plus age group in the Regina Zone. All public health measures have been extended to April 26th. There are 189 new cases, with 9 in the Northwest. 5 of those are in the immediate Lloydminster area, where we have 55 active cases. 2,138 cases are considered active in the province. There are 201 people in hospital, with 9 in our zone. More than 2,334,000 vaccine doses have been administered in Saskatchewan, with over 16,000 in our zone. The government of Saskatchewan released its provincial budget yesterday, announcing a deficit for the next 4 years. But as Eric Bay reports, nothing was a shock at City Hall.
So there was no surprise in the budget. It was pretty straightforward.
Much like the City of Lloydminster's most recent budget, there was not a lot of flash with the government of Saskatchewan's budget announcement yesterday, as the global pandemic reduces spending. Lloydminster will see a big boost in education, as both Lloyd Comp and Holy Rosary High Schools will receive the full $24.9 million promised by the province to upgrade their buildings.
They know it's a growing city and are trying to address that. There's certainly areas of growth in the province and other areas where there's not as much growth experienced, and we've seen significant growth. So we're excited to see that the provinces continue to fund that and just modernize.
The government did promise more funding for mental health and addictions, which will account for over 7% of the Ministry of Health budget. The mayor has repeatedly stressed the need for mental health supports and calls the funding a great start.
And I hope as times continue to improve financially for the province and for the city and things like that, we can continuously see those developments improve, because it's a great starting point and they've noted it. We have a minister that's specifically responsible. Part of his portfolio is mental health, and that's good to see. He's no stranger to the city of Lloydminster.
Mayor Albers is happy with the province's municipal funding for the upcoming year, as the city is using it for multiple projects this summer.
We do appreciate that money that comes to help support us, that provide the services that you see and help maintaining infrastructure and things like that throughout the city. Those dollars all get put into the city budget and help to deliver at the end of the day what you see in the city.
This year's budget is forecasted to be a $2.6 billion deficit. Eric Bay, Primetime Local News.
In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we take a look at the Lloydminster Public Schools Division's collaborations with the NEST project and the mental health practices it offers.
I'm joined now with Brent Thomas, LPSD's Superintendent of Education, and Jody Simmons, the lead educator of the NEST project. So first of all, I'll get you just to explain what the NEST project is.
Sure. So the NEST project was born in August of 2020 last year. My partner, Carrie Lawrenson, and I had been working alongside teachers in schools for many, many years, teaching children and youth about resilience strategies and mental health promotion and prevention work. And after many years, we sort of looked at each other and said, you know, we're noticing a gap. We're noticing a gap for educators, for parents, for adults. And so we decided to make the shift and offer similar information, but more suited for adults, still coming from a positive psychology research background. And so the NEST project was launched.
And what would you say is some of the benefits of these practices?
Well, there's been lots, I think, specifically for the LPSD staff. I think one of the biggest ones has been the opportunity to just come together. You know, in a year when it's been a little harder, they've been able to come together as a group and talk about some things and also have a look at some of the material that we're sharing, which is really, you know, things about discussions about joy, about gratitude, about the importance of connection and understanding some science behind why these things are so critical for our mental health and well-being, but also finding opportunities within those sessions to get practicing, like right now, whether they had 30 seconds throughout their very full days or 30 minutes on the weekends. So it's been great to see them come together and connect, though. That's been critical.
And what's kind of been their reaction to this as well?
Well, this has been, it's been great for, just like Jody said, for the connection part. And I think the people that have had the opportunity to participate have done just that. They take the tools that they're learning. They've been able to practice some of those skills, and I think they feel like this is really beneficial for themselves, not only personally but also professionally. And it allows them to focus on their wellness, which is something that we need and want them to do as well. So.
How are you hoping that this partnership between Nest and LPSC, plays out?
Well, this kind of came out of a need from what we saw. I mean, we're almost 500 staff here in LPSD, and so what we want to do is make sure that our staff is well, because we feel like if they're well, then they can help our students be well. And so this year it started coming out of a need, and with a small grant from the ministry to try to build on. But I see this as something that we'll try to continue to do, is support our staff coming out of a really challenging year and moving into hopefully something that is a little more closer to normal than not. I think we can't stop focusing on wellness. In fact, I think we have to shine the light on it even more and make sure everyone is doing everything that they can for themselves and each other to be well.
And obviously, during the pandemic, mental health has been a big focus, and a lot of people have been bringing more attention to it. But do you think that this project will help not only now, but in years to come?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to sort of highlight here that this work that we're doing with the staff in the schools is prevention in nature, preventative in nature. And so this is long before someone feels that they're ready to make a phone call for some real intervention-based support. This is about everyday wellness. This is about wellness during a pandemic, but this is also about wellness 5 years from now or 20 years from now in retirement. These are life skills. So although this pandemic and this time has shone a light on some of these needs, the needs have been there for years and will continue to be there. They'll just look a little different.
Well, awesome. Thank you both for joining me today.
Beyond the Classroom is brought to you by Lakeland College, home to the most hands-on education in Canada. Apply today and graduate job ready.
The Thorpe Recovery Center is looking forward to its 5th annual Night Off fundraiser event. Art Laycraft explores the details.
Today I'm joined by Sarah Fox, who's the development coordinator with the Thorpe Recovery Center, and she's here for a check-in of sorts. Thanks so much for joining me, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
So you guys have your 5th annual Night Off event that's coming up in a few weeks here that aims to raise some money for the services that you guys provide. Could you just give me a little bit of a rundown on how this year's iteration is going to work?
Well, usually in the past, we've asked people to stay home and do nothing to support recovery. We know Lloydminster's has a lot of galas and big events, and we thought we'd take the opportunity to let people stay home, relax, just know that your money's going towards a good place. But with this year, we've stayed home and done nothing for a year, and we're done. I think so. We wanted to create still a COVID-friendly event that people could stay home, celebrate recovery in our community, celebrate the Thorpe Center, and support addiction services, and do a little something for fun.
And I also hear that you guys are teaming up with Spiros for the Night Off event as well. Can you just tell me a little bit about that partnership?
With your Night Off ticket as well, there's going to be a link to order from Spiros, so the Lloydminster favorite, and they're going to donate a portion of the sale of the Maria's favorite on May 1st, so they're the day of our night off. A portion of those proceeds are going to come back to Thorpe. They've graciously taken on our meal sponsorship, and so we highly encourage people to order in that night. And if anyone else wants to help make the night off special, you can reach out to myself, Sarah, at the Thorpe Recovery Center. If you want to create an offer or share a discount for somebody who is supporting this good cause.
And to change the subject just for a little bit, Thorpe Recovery also has a little web series that you guys are running right now. It's called Community Coffee, I believe. Can you just tell me a little bit about that too?
For sure. So, Coffee with Community Connections during COVID-19 was actually made possible through the government of Alberta. We received some funding to help spread some information and awareness of resources during the pandemic. And we thought this was a really great interactive way to engage with the community and engage with our connections. We have so many throughout Lloydminster and even in Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon. And so we wanted to draw those connections together. So our social worker, Jordan, she's been fantastic reaching out and recording her conversations. Um, and it's just been fun. And we thought we wanted to continue sharing them with the public, and hopefully we can keep going for a few more weeks. I think we have about 10 weeks planned. And if anyone has questions or wants to have a conversation with Jordan, just reach out and we'll see if we can make something work.
And for people who might be interested in joining your night off events, or maybe they want to learn a little bit more about community coffee, where can they go to check that out or learn more?
The best way is to go to our website, thorperecoverycenter.org. We also have a link on our Facebook page and our Instagram. And there's a link to buy some tickets. Tickets are $50 and 100% of the proceeds are going to come back to Thorpe, which is great. And so you know that it's going towards a good cause. And along with your ticket, you also will get a custom Spotify playlist for your night in. So we've curated some hits from 1975 because we're also celebrating our 45th anniversary this year. So going back to the 70s, and some hits and singles from local artists as well to celebrate the local talent here.
Thanks so much for doing this, Sarah.
Super, thank you so much.
An activity challenge is coming soon for residents to participate and get some exercise in as well. We chatted with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lloydminster for more details on the fundraiser.
I'm speaking with Jacqueline Weed with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lloydminster. What exactly is the 50 Minutes for 50 Years fundraiser coming up?
So usually at this time of year, as most of our community knows, we run Bowl for Kids' Sake, which is a major fundraiser for our agency. Of course, COVID the last 2 years has put a wrench into that for us. Last year, we kind of had to wait and see what was happening and did it virtually in the summer. And so this year we thought, what could we do to replace Bowl for Kids, since we can't get into the bowling alley and do this, but still keep people in our community engaged. So 2021 happens to be the 50-year anniversary of Big Brothers starting in Lloydminster. So we thought, how could we tie that in? So that's where we came up with the 50 Minutes for 50 Years. So 1 minute of activity for each year that Big Brothers has been in Lloydminster. And so we thought we would run it similar to Bowl for Kids. So people pick whatever activity that they want to take part in. And then they register as an individual, as a team, as a business, and collect pledges, same as they would for Bowl for Kids. And then we fundraise and they get to have some fun.
And how was the support from the community in previous years with Bowl for Kids? Do you think it'll be still the same with this year for this new 50 Minutes for 50 Years fundraiser?
We always have great support for Bowl for Kids. We have sponsors, corporate sponsors that have been with us for, since I first started here. So for 15 plus years, we have teams that have come along with us every year. So we're hoping that because this is something active and not virtual, that people will be like, yes, we can do this. And it's, pretty easy. Just pick whatever activity you like. So, they can do gardening, they can do walking, running, work out at home. Challenge their friends, go golfing, go biking, whatever interests you as a person being active. Kids could jump on a trampoline. As long as you register and collect the pledges, and we've given them about a week's window to do the activities. It's super easy and I think super fun. They can challenge each other, challenge friends and family.
Is that why this idea came up as well? Since through COVID-19, this will help get people exercising and everything through this pandemic.
Yeah, we just thought it's a way, if the restrictions are limited, we've been lucky. We haven't been too restricted, but if something changes, it's still something that they can do in their own backyard or in their own house by themselves, if we're allowed to be with others, so it was pretty flexible and it was the easiest thing that we could see to replace Bowl for Kids, but still engage the community.
And I know you brought up some exercises a little bit earlier in this interview. Do you have an exact list of activities that will be involved for this challenge?
On our information package that we're sending out and on our poster that we've been posting on Facebook, we've just said whatever you choose, but we have given, activities that you could include, but it's not limited to it. So, I mean, even if somebody went rock climbing and wanted to collect pledges, it doesn't matter to us. It's 50 minutes of activity, whatever you choose for it to be. You collect the pledges, get people to sponsor you, and then, yeah, just help with the fundraising that way and have fun doing your activity.
And for people that are wondering, how can they register for this and participate?
So they can check it out on Facebook. We've had a couple posts now on there, or they could just call the office at 306-825-5757 and talk to myself or Brenda, and we could get you the registration information, the pledge form, all that kind of stuff. And if businesses wanted to be a corporate sponsor, they can just get in touch with us as well, and we'll give them the information.
And is there a deadline for people to register?
No, they can register. So the dates for the event that we've given is Thursday, May 13th to Tuesday, May 18th. So as long as we know by May 12th that they're wanting to take part, and as long as they're able to still do the fundraising, then yeah, they can do it last minute, just as long as we know ahead of time so that we can keep track of how many people took part and that kind of stuff.
Okay, and is there anything else you'd like to add for people to know about?
No, I think it's a really fun and flexible thing for people to get involved in. I know in the past for Bowl for Kids, we've had kind of a theme and had costumes and stuff. If people want to dress up as they're doing their activity, they can. Send us lots of pictures. We're just really excited to see people taking part and in what ways they're going to choose to support the event.
Perfect. Well, I think this is a great initiative, and can't wait to see how it turns out this year. Thanks for joining us, Jacqueline.
Thanks. We're thankful for the opportunity to talk about it, and we hope that everybody's on board.
Now our Connor Chan will take a first look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks very much, Jazz. But take a look right now. A little bit warmer today than we did talk about that yesterday as well. We were going to see temperatures very close to the 20-degree mark. We do see some winds coming in from the south at 21 kilometers per hour. A lot more cloud coverage, though, than yesterday, but that's going to be, we're going to see lots of sun and cloud trends over the next couple of days. If we take a look at some other areas here in the region, 17 in Marwayne as well as in Vermilion, 16 for St. Paul and Vegreville, 16 also we see up in Cold Lake, 15 for Bonnyville and Pierceland, 18 also we see in Provost, 19 for Macklin as well as in North Battleford, 18 is also in Green Lake, Meadow Lake as well. A little bit cooler temperatures up in Isle La Crosse at 11 degrees, and then 16 for St. Walburg. Taking a look at the satellite radar map, lots of cloud coverage making its way, and even some precipitation could make its way into the Vegreville area, as well as a shift over here. We are going to see showers in the North Battleford area, where we could see that carry over into tomorrow. So it's hovering around right now, that Maidstone and North Battleford areas as well. So be expecting some showers for them overnight and carrying over into tomorrow. As we look at North Battleford right now, speak of the devil, 6 degrees overnight with some cloud coverage going into tomorrow, 6 degrees. They could see a decent amount of rain with that wind still in that 20 kilometer plus range there from the northwest there coming, and then 2 degrees overnight in Cold Lake with some cloud coverage. And it clears up tomorrow with a little bit of a cooler day for them at 5 degrees for the daytime high with some sun and clouds in the forecast. And then for us here in Lloydminster, 3 degrees expected overnight, and then we will get that cloud coverage continuing on tomorrow with that daytime high of 6 degrees with winds over 20 kilometers an hour as well. Now taking a look here at the next 3 days, 11 degrees on Fridays. We will warm up a little bit, but we are going to get a little bit colder in the mornings there with the lows there of -7. Going into Saturday, we could see rain ourselves here with a 56% chance of some rain happening with that high of 6 and a low of -3. With the wind chill, it could feel a little bit cooler at -10. That is a first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. SGI is reminding residents that the road is not a racetrack as part of this month's Traffic Safety Spotlight on Speeding. Jace Mackey has more on the push for drivers to slow down.
As part of SGI's Traffic Safety Spotlight for the month of April, they are focused on speeding, and police in Saskatchewan are going to be on the lookout for drivers who are speeding. So joining me to talk a little bit more about this, I'm joined with Tyler McMurtry from SGI. So Tyler, first of all, can you tell me a little bit more about the message that SGI is hoping to get across this month?
Absolutely. The reason we are focusing on speeding this April is because, with the spring weather, we expect there will be more people out and about enjoying the nice weather, getting their motorcycles, their bicycles, and going for walks with their families. So we want people to keep that in mind when they are getting behind the wheel, that the roads are going to be a little busier, and we want them to watch their speed and look out for everybody.
Now, with police in Saskatchewan keeping an extra eye open for speeders on the roads, what are some of the penalties that people can expect if they're caught speeding?
Well, the penalties for speeding escalate as you accelerate, we like to say. So the faster you're going, the more severe the ticket is going to be, and there are other consequences that can result as well. So on a regular stretch of road in Saskatchewan, if you're speeding, say you're exceeding the speed limit by 20 kilometers per hour, that's a $190 ticket. So that's not cheap. But when you're speeding in a school zone, that penalty escalates to a $310 ticket for that same 20 kilometers per hour over the limit. And if you're in a construction zone, and construction season will be well underway very soon, we want people to understand that the penalties for speeding in an occupied construction zone are very severe. A $440 ticket for 20 kilometers per hour over the limit, or if you don't slow down at all in those highway construction zones, you can face a penalty of $1,008 if you're going at 40 kilometers per hour over the limit in a zone where you're supposed to slow down to 60 kilometers per hour.
And even if you're not caught by police, there still could be a cost to speeding when it comes to increased chance of getting into a collision. Can you just talk a little bit more about some of the dangers of speeding?
Yeah, it's a great question. The problem with speeding is that it gives you less reaction time, and when you do collide with something, the results of that collision are much more severe. So it does increase your chance of being involved in a collision. Also, if you're speeding at a really egregious rate of speed on a regular stretch of road, the other road users will not expect you to be traveling that fast and won't be able to react accordingly as well. So that's another reason why you want to let off the gas pedal a little bit and just watch your speed. Those posted speed limits are what they say they are. They're limits. They're not suggestions.
Now, when we spoke before in different months about different traffic safety spotlights, there are a lot of tips that people can have, when it comes to distracted driving and stuff. But for speeding, I guess the main tip is slow down. It's not a race.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we're doing with this month's traffic safety spotlight, we had a bit of a Talladega Nights flavor to the news release. And our message is that public roads are not your racetrack. And if you ain't first, you're fine, actually. You don't want to take that racetrack mentality to the public roads. We were talking about consequences earlier. One of the consequences, if you're engaging in a contest of speed on the public road, is a 30-day vehicle impoundment. And even if you're not racing anyone, if you're traveling very, very fast, well over the speed limit, 50 kilometers per hour, you're looking at a 7-day vehicle impoundment. So not only are you looking at a ticket, but you're also looking at the loss of your vehicle for that specified period of time. And you'll have to pay the towing and impound fees on top of that.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth the risk. And Tyler, do you have any final thoughts before we end this today?
I just think we mentioned the vulnerable road users, the fact that there's going to be cyclists, motorcyclists, and pedestrians out. Motorists need to look out for them, but it's also incumbent upon everybody to do what they can to avoid collisions. So if you're a motorcyclist or a cyclist, making sure you're wearing the proper gear, that you're seen and you're obeying the rules of the road. So make sure that you have proper lights and reflectors that are required, making sure that you're always, of course, wearing a helmet and the other proper protective gear, especially if you're a motorcyclist. And for pedestrians, one of the things that we sometimes remind people is, we talk about distracted driving, but don't be a distracted pedestrian as well. If you're venturing out on the street, maybe take your eyes off your phone for a few moments and make sure that it's safe to cross.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today, Tyler. It's always great to get some tips from you today.
Always happy to talk to you, Jace.
Now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
Another school division will be adding a sports academy for the fall of 2021. The Lloydminster Public School Division has partnered up with Hoop Factory for enhanced physical education.
We're very excited to link in with LPSD and provide a multi-sport experience for the public school kids in our facility. So I think that's been something missing in the community for a while, and we're very excited to be hosting this for them.
The Sports Academy will be available for students between grades 5 to 8. The program will focus on skills and gameplay for volleyball, basketball, badminton, and track and field. King says the program will not only help kids on the court.
Getting to play every sport was a very big thing for me, and I think it helped make me better in other sports. Now, the things that Academy does for our students, it really provides that work ethic and that little bit of care to reach their goals, to really help them excel in the classroom as well as in the gymnasium.
Students will be bused to Hoop Factory, similar to the Hockey Academy. Now our Connor Chan will take another look at your weather forecast.
Thanks very much there, Jasmine. Take a look right now, still sitting around that 18-degree mark right now for us here in Lloydminster as we take a look out up in the west. Now, Athabasca sitting at 12 with 9 degrees in Whitecourt and in Edson, a little bit cooler in Jasper, sitting at 7 right now, 16 for Red Deer, as well as 13 for Rocky Mountain House. Edmonton also sitting around that 15 to 18 degree range there, so they're still pretty warm. 19 to talk about here in Saskatchewan. North Battleford, Prince Albert, and Melfort all sitting at 19 with 21 in Saskatoon, one of the very few 20-degree marks we've seen here in the immediate Lloydminster areas as well as in the Saskatchewan areas as well. Take a look up north, 10 degrees for the Losh and Buffalo Narrows currently right now, 12 for Larange, Flin Flon, and in South End, 5 degrees up in Wollaston Lake right now. A little bit chillier in Stony Rapids, sitting at -1 right now, and then 1 degree in Uranium City. Also a little chillier in High Level, sitting at 0. They're pretty even on the scale there. 4 degrees in Fort Chipewyan, 12 in Fort McMurray, with 4 also for Grand Prairie, 5 degrees in Peace River, and then 3 degrees we see down there in Slave Lake. Now taking a look at the very warm southern Alberta, we do see lots of warm temperatures. 21 in Medicine Hat, 18 degrees in Lethbridge, 17 in Coronation right now. A little bit cooler in Banff, sitting at 5 degrees, and then Calgary sitting at a nice 16 degrees currently right now. Moving over to Saskatchewan in the southern areas right now, 19 in Swift Current. Then we see 20s in Regina and Kindersley, with 21 in Moose Jaw, 19 for Yorkton, and then 18 degrees in Estevan. Now as we take a look at the rest of the country, Winnipeg sitting at very warm temperatures as well, but lots of cloud coverage still hovers over most of the country here as we see Quebec City sitting at 12 degrees, a little bit of clearer skies there, 17 degrees in Toronto, some fog emerging in St. John's at 3 degrees, then 8 degrees in Halifax with some cloud coverage, some rain in Vancouver right now with that high of 8 degrees. Flurries still happening up in the Northwest Territories areas like Yellowknife sitting at -8, and then no flurries today for Whitehorse, but they're also still sitting at -8. Now this is what we could see for tomorrow. We are going to get a lot cooler tomorrow, so it's not quite shorts weather per se, unless you're like me that do enjoy wearing shorts when there's absolutely 0 snow on the ground. But 6 degrees is what our expected daytime high is. It will be a little bit cloudy throughout the day, but we won't see a lot of sun throughout that day tomorrow. So 5 degrees in Marwayne as well as in Bonnyville, Cold Lake, and St. Paul. Lots of 6s throughout most of the area. It's going to be that 5 and 6 we'll see in this immediate area. So 5 in Maidstone, and then we'll see 6 in North Battleford. So here's a look at the next 7 days. 11 degrees on Friday, so we are going to warm up a little bit on Friday. Then we'll get back to those single-digit temperatures with a chance of some rain on Saturday with a 56% chance there. Cooler mornings are still going to happen starting on Friday, going into Saturday. -4 low there for Sunday with that same high of 6 degrees. 7 on Monday. We warm up once again there on Tuesday with a high of 10, and then Wednesday we'll get there by the end of the week. 12 degrees will be the daytime high. That is a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us this week. Stephanie is a local lawyer and mediator with Hankin Divorce Law and Mediation here in Lloydminster. And Stephanie, we've been spending some time talking about the new Divorce Act, which came into effect at the beginning of March. And this week we're going to focus on relocation. That's obviously a big issue if you have spouses that are separating and somebody wants to move to a different place. So the first thing we want to talk about is, what does relocation mean in this new Divorce Act?
Sure, and I'll just start out by reminding our viewers that the Divorce Act that we're talking about is a federal statute, so it's for married parents. There's also provincial legislation for unmarried parents, but today we're going to be focusing primarily on that federal legislation for married. So when we're talking about relocation, there's two different aspects. So it all involves a move generally, but one is called a change of residence, and the other is called a relocation. So change of residence is addressed in one section that's very much more broad. It's just a change of where you're going to be living, irrespective of the distance. A relocation goes further than that, so it's also a move, but it involves where there's going to be a significant change or impact to the relationship of a child or children to the left behind parent, spouse, or step parent.
So once it's been determined, Stephanie, that there is in fact going to be a change, what then happens next?
So if you're someone who has parenting time, which is a spouse or a parent or step parent most often, or decision-making responsibilities, you're required to give anyone else who has that same, so parenting time, decision-making responsibilities, or even a contact order, someone like a grandparent, you're required to give them notice of your move. So there's a difference if it's going to be change of residence versus a relocation. So with a change of residence, you have to give notice ahead of the move of your intention to move. And then it needs to be in writing, and there's some certain things that you need to give. And the idea of the change of residence is just to make sure that that whoever else has a relationship or involvement with the children knows where the children are going to be with the other parent. And so for a relocation, it goes even further than that. So there's notice requirements as far as the timing. So 60 days ahead of when you're planning to do that relocation, which again is that significant move, you have to give 60 days notice, and there's a particular form you need to use and some particular things you need to say. But of most significance, you have to, the intending moving parent has to give a proposal to the other people involved as far as what your plan is or what your proposal is for parenting scheduling, the left behind parent still being able to see the children.
Now, what happens if there is an objection by one side or the other when it comes to relocating or moving?
Yeah, these kind of cases are often very high conflict, or can become high conflict when the move is significant. So when we're talking about a change of residence, there's not really a formal objection process. It's more so just making sure that everyone knows where the children are going to be living. When there's a relocation, that objection is something that is more formalized. It has to be given within 30 days of having received the notice of the intention to move. So one person gives the notice 60 days ahead, and then the other person gives within 30 days, gives their notice of that objection. If someone objects, then the move cannot happen unless you come to agreement or there's a court order permitting that move.
So if they can't come to an agreement, obviously one person wants to move, that's a big deal, they've made this decision. What then can actually happen? How do they end up trying to get this resolved, Stephanie?
Yeah, as you can see, these issues can become very, very complicated. So of course, we're just looking for a general overview here. But the idea is that if there is a dispute, that it's likely that the court is going to have to get involved. The thing, the change in the Divorce Act is that there's actually now a list of factors that the court will consider. So first of all, the court goes to what we talked about last week, which is the best interests of the children. And there's a further list that's specifically with respect to relocation. So I'm going to go through that list very briefly here. Sure. And of course, we'll have to rewatch it because it'll just be a really quick overview. So number one is the reasons for the relocation. Number two is the impact of that relocation on the child. The level of involvement for each parent with children. And the courts will also look at whether those notice requirements were were fulfilled. So the 60 days notice, whether that was provided as expected. We'll also look at existence of orders or agreements with respect to the geographic area where the children are supposed to, are ordered or agreed to be living. And when we talk about that proposal that the moving parent is to give, the courts will look at the reasonableness of that proposal. And they'll also look at compliance with existing orders or agreements. So if someone is in constant breach of their existing orders or agreements, the courts will look at that. The last thing is the interesting part is what the courts are not allowed to look at. It's called a double bind question. And what that means is the courts are not allowed to say to a parent, if you are prohibited from moving with the children, would you still move?
Okay, Stephanie, there's a lot really to unpack there with
Yes.
all of those different changes. If anybody is looking for further information in regards to this or just in regards to mediation in general, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Sure. You can call our office 780-875-2234 and inquire. We do both legal and mediation services, but these kind of relocations are a perfect example of where starting by trying to have that conversation can be really helpful. You can also look up us on at our website, henkadivorce.ca, or go to our e-learning community for separated and divorcing families, upanotchlearning.com.
All right, Stephanie, well, once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be back next week.
Yes, thanks.
I'm very pleased to be joined with here today on Primetime Local News with Aaron Pritchett and Raymond Mussel, and we're talking about their new song called Still You Breathe, which is about organ donation, and of course very fitting for it to be released on Green Shirt Day, April 7th. So gentlemen, I want to start with talking about the song itself and the inspiration behind it.
So I was approached Thanksgiving weekend of last year to just help this lady named Sheila Moore put together some music and a voice for a song that she was working on. And one thing led to another. We ended up pretty much rewriting all of it. I wrote music for it. And so we put it together and we came up with what we thought was a pretty good message for organ donation awareness and essentially a thank you from recipient to the donor. And then when I asked Aaron if he would consider producing this for me, he said absolutely. And then was I a little bit more with a little bit more trepidation, I asked him if he would consider singing on it, and he said absolutely.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where Ray told me what this was for and what the purpose of the song was. It's not just a song; it's a message, and obviously widespread awareness, bringing widespread awareness to organ donation, tissue transplant, etc. And it was an easy one to choose. And thanks for asking me, Ray.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it was a huge honor to see that.
What's the hope for both of you when people hear this song? And of course, the late Logan Boulay started this movement with getting people to become organ donors. So what's your outlook for the song when people hear it?
Oh, for me, definitely, yeah. This song was inspired by a guy who had received a double lung transplant. And it's just his gratitude that really struck me. And I thought, this simple thing, a simple thing like a song, can make a big difference in how aware people become of this. Because even though I've been an organ donor since organ donor became a thing, I wasn't as acutely aware of just how big it is until we got into this. And it's really a remarkable thing.
Yeah, especially when you see the effects of organ donation. And I think what happened was when Logan Boulay, for example, passed along his 6 organs after he had succumbed to his injuries. It really brought a lot of awareness and to the forefront of Canadian society, especially. For me, I've been an organ donor since as long as you could have a driver's license. And I remember the first time I did, I thought, well, I guess, yeah, I suppose if I don't really fully understand it, but sure. And it wasn't until years later where I kind of understood what organ donation and tissue donation and transplant is all about. And especially hearing the stories now since I've become a part of the song, but also just in general since the Humboldt bus crash, Broncos bus crash 3 years ago. Man, what a huge thing for everybody to do. And it is in your passing, and you leave a legacy, but you also help save lives, which is super important. And I think this song typifies all of that. And because Morris, or Mo Irvine, was the one who received the double lung transplant, and for him to have that experience and then be able to say, I can breathe again, which he never could for a long time. His breathing was really, really tough. So this is a huge song, and organ transplant and tissue transplant is something that I think everybody should be a part of.
Now, I understand sales from this song are going to be going somewhere. So talk about where some of those proceeds are going to go towards.
Yeah, portions of the proceeds will go to varied organizations, including, like we have the Heart and Kidney Foundation, all of the different, there are so many different organ donation entities out there, and all of them can use the help. So part of these proceeds are going to go to that. And however, we don't even really have a strict template yet as to how we're going to distribute, but that's what we're going to do with it.
And lastly, where can people go buy the song if they want to purchase it?
Right now it's available on Spotify. If it's not today, it will be very soon available on many different download sites, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, all over the place. There are many of them. I believe we counted 23 or 24 that it's gone to.
Aaron and Raymond, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us today. Still You Breathe is out now to purchase as well as listen on all major streaming platforms. Gentlemen, thank you so much. All right, taking one last look here at your at your weather forecast. 6 degrees on tomorrow with some cloud coverage, and I'll carry over into Friday, where we will see a little bit of warmer temperatures at 11 degrees, but we will have a cooler morning at -7, and we're going to start to see that over the next little bit here. Rain on Saturday here with a 56% chance of that happening with a high of 6, and that's what we'll see heading into Sunday as well, where we will start to see the sun a little bit more on Sunday. 7 on Monday, 10 degrees, on Tuesday, where it will clear up a little bit more, and then a little bit more sun on Wednesday with that daytime high there of 12 degrees.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.